Hello, my name is Rebecca Black, and I am going to teach you how to create a creative resume in Illustrator today. A resume is a very important thing. It's your first impression, your first foot in the door at an employer or a potential employer. So you really want to stand out here. A lot of people just hand in very simple Word document resumes, which is fine for a lot of straight-laced companies, but for a company that's a little bit more creative or a little bit more modern, it's good to have something that maybe stands out or is a little bit different, a little creative. So that's what I'm going to teach you how to do. This isn't an intense design tutorial. It's really more for beginners or people who haven't had any experience in Illustrator, but they want a well-formatted, beautiful, well-laid out resume. That's what I'm going to teach you how to do today. So let's get started. Okay, so this is what your resume should look like once we're completely finished. I just wanted to show you on the computer what it would look like. So getting started, you're going to have to open Illustrator, and you're just going to find it in your applications and double click and open it, just like any other kind of application or Safari or Internet Explorer, whatever. And now we're going to make a new document. So come up here, this is your bar, your navigation bar up here. So we're going to go to File, New, and your new document will come up. The size is, I think, default letter for most computers. If not, you can just click down here and click the letter size. It should be 8.5 inches by 11 inches, CMYK color mode, and 300 resolution. That's for printing purposes. You need to have those set. Click OK, and we have our document. So the first thing we're going to do is create rulers. So you can come up here and click on your window, and this is where all of your tools on the side over here will be located. When you click them, they'll come up if you don't have them already pulled up. So you can look through here and add stuff, but we're actually going to go to View, Rulers, and Show Rulers. View, Rulers, and Show Rulers. Now the reason I didn't know that is because I usually just do Command R. Or Control R if you're on a PC. I'm going to be using the Mac terms because that's what I have, but just so you know, Command means Control in PC language. So if you're on a Mac, Command R or Control R if you're on a PC, and your rulers will come up. So I'm going to do about three notches in, and I have mine set 2 inches. You can set them to whatever you want, and we're going to want to do on the same on the other side also. So 1, 2, 3, and then the top and the bottom I'm actually going to leave because we might need to adjust that a little bit. Okay, so we're also going to make a middle. I'm just going to go ahead and stick it right in the middle for now. Later we might adjust this, or we will adjust this actually. So let's start with your name. So to type your name, let me show you that first. You come over here and click on the type tool, and you can just click anywhere on the page. Just one click will do, and start typing. So I have my name, and you're going to want to come over here to the selection tool. This black arrow is actually your selection tool. The white one is a different kind of selection tool, so make sure you click the black selection tool. And once you do that, a box comes up which you can adjust the size just by hovering over the corner. Hold Shift anytime you're adjusting these boxes because that maintains the shape, the size, the integrity of the font. If not, you can end up stretching it and it looks horrible, and that's one of the worst things you can do in graphic design. So we're just going to place this over here. I'm also going to kind of mimic a little logo thing here with my name, and so I'm just going to type a little RB, and I'm going to put that over here somewhere. So now that we have our header done, I'm actually going to move this guide over a little bit, just so we're going to want more room on the right side than the left side. The left side is going to be our small column, the right side is going to be our larger column for more information there. And I'm just clicking and dragging around with my selection tool in case you're wondering. Okay, so I'm just going to line them up. Just go ahead and start doing that. We'll go through at the end and make sure everything's perfectly lined up. Also, while you're moving stuff around, if you select it, you can use your arrow keys, like the up, the down, left, right. It's a really easy way to nudge your objects around on the page. So, as we look over here, this is what it's going to look at the end. I'm going to kind of reference just so I can have the reference between the two, but let's start with the contact. So your contact's going to go right beneath here. So type out contact like I did before, just text tool, click, type. And with the type selected up here, you can see you have these character options, font size options. So we're going to increase this to about 18. We're going to change that. Oops, let me capitalize that. We're going to change this based on what font we use. So actually now I'm going to show you the fonts. So there are a ton of fonts available to you if you click on one of your words up here in character. Here's all your fonts that you can see. There are tons of fonts available already on your computer, and there are some good ones, but I really like fonts that you can find online, and I'll show you some good ones. I usually go to fontsquirrel.com because it's 100% free, even for commercial use, and that's just a technical thing, but it's better to get things that are 100% free so you're not infringing on anybody's copyright issues. So you can look through these and pick, I mean, any of them. This one's kind of cool, Sophia Pro. You can really choose any font that you want, whatever kind of fits your style. You generally want to stay away from scripts just because they can be hard to read and your resume is still about legibility. And there are a lot of bad script fonts out there. Script just means kind of like the cursive, hand-drawn looking thing. So I'm actually going to go to Slab Serif. So for this, I chose Josephine Slab. I might change this later. I kind of like the way it looks, but I'm not 100% sure about it for me personally. But it's a really cool font, and slab fonts are becoming more and more popular right now, so I decided to choose it. Over here, you just click the download button, and it will download onto your computer. All you have to do after that is open up your font book in your applications folder, which will look like this, and it might show you all fonts. You can come down here and click user and go to your downloads, find your font, and just drag it over, and it will install it. I've already have mine installed, so that's why that came up. But you just click OK, click through everything, and it'll install. I've never had any problems with FontSquirrel, so that's why I use them. So let's go ahead and change the font. A good way is to select multiple things is you click and you continue to hold Shift and you go through and click everything, and that will select multiple things. So we're going to come over. I have my character box open, which you can go to Window and go down to Type, and there's a character, character styles, glyphs, open type, paragraph. You can just click character. That's what we'll mostly be using, and this box should pop up. So I'm going to click that drop down, and this way you can kind of see what the fonts look like, which is helpful, and it's just easier access than the top bar, I think. But if you're more comfortable, you can still use the top bar up here. So anyway, we're going to go to Josephine Slab, And I'm just going to do regular for right now. And that's changed my fonts. Already we're looking a little bit better here. So on the final one, you can see I did these lines up top, and that's kind of the consistent design that I chose to do. It helps separate everything and keeps it very clean looking. So I'm going to create a line. You start on one side of the guide, and your little target will come up. You click, hold Shift, and drag across. If you don't hold Shift, you can move it all over the place, but we want it to be perfectly straight across. And then once you get to the other side of the guide, just let go of both. That might take a little bit of practice, but that's okay. So once you're done with that, go to your selection tool, click on the line, and you can increase or decrease your stroke just based on what you want it to look like. So I think we're going to go to 2 points for now. And I'm going to increase this contact to bold. Yeah, I like that a little bit better. And I'm just nudging, getting it a little bit closer because I want them to seem connected. So the other thing I'm going to do is space out these letters just a little bit. This font looks a little bit small. It's better once you print it because this will be about, the size you're holding it. But the letters just are a little bit close together for me. So I'm going to click on it, hold Alt, and do my left and right arrows to make the letters closer together or further apart. So I'm going to go just a little bit further apart. One more in. Don't do this too much because a lot of people overuse this. It's called kerning. And you can get carried away with it, and it's kind of hard to do perfectly. So just do it if it's necessary. If not, it's fine. So we have the contact now. And now we're going to make a little paragraph underneath. You're going to go back to your text type tool, and this time instead of just clicking once, you're going to click, hold it, and drag across. So when you do that, a text box will come up, and your text will be constrained to those proportions. Now, the last character, or the last thing I typed out was contact, so we want this not to look exactly like that because that's our heading. So we're going to go to regular and go down to maybe 12 font. You might be 11 and you might be 12, you might be 13. It just depends. You really need to print it, see how legible it is, and adjust from there. So for now, we're just going to stick with, I think, 12-point font. So you're going to type your phone number, whatever it is, and then you'll do whatever other contact information you want. Okay. If you have a portfolio site, that might be a good thing to include right here. If not, it's not a huge deal. It's just the best way to contact. And usually I start with the phone number and move down from there on best ways to contact. So we have our contact up. Now what we're going to do, click on the text box. You can adjust. It's way down far from where it needs to be, so I'm just going to pull it up a little bit just to keep things clean. And I'm selecting everything, so I'm holding Shift and clicking. You can also, with your selection tool, click and drag, and this little box will pop up, and you can select multiple things, but as you saw there, sometimes it selects things that you don't mean it to, so you can use either one. So we're going to copy and paste this, just so we maintain all of the styles, everything's the exact same. So Command-C, Command-V is the easy way for Mac to copy and paste. So now we're going in this section to do our skills. Now you can organize this any way you want to. How I'm going to organize it is break it down based on what the skills are. If you just have, 5 or 6 skills that you just want to list, their basic skills, then you can do that. You can organize them by, computer skills, interpersonal skills, design skills, whatever. But what I did here is, Adobe Creative, because that's what graphic designers typically use. Graphic design skills, which are kind of different, just the ability that I have. And then web design, because I can also do some web design. So I'm just going to copy this over so I don't have to redo all that. But you can just make another text box, type it out, and make it match up to your guides. Now, it's good to have differentiation in your text. So, you have your skills, which is your header. It's bold. It's 18 font. So it would be good. What I did here is I made this not bold, but 14 font. So it's still bigger than this body text down here. That'll definitely come in handy, especially when we're doing the experience section. So we're going to do leadership the same way. I'm just going to do copy all this stuff again. Actually, I'm going to copy the skills section because that looks a little bit better. So I'm going to go ahead and type leadership. Now, here you can include anything you want to include. If you have a ton of skills and want it to just run all the way down the page, you can. If you have awards section and want to include that instead, you can put that there. I just have leadership experience, so I wanted to highlight that. So vice president, advertising. And then I'm going to do the date underneath, or to present. So again, kind of creating that differentiation. I'm actually going to do this and make this 12 point, same as this. And I'm going to, for the dates, I've decided I'm going to italicize them. So that way they are all consistent and it's easy to read. You really want your resume to be very, very easy to read, or else it won't get read. So whatever else you want to include here. So now that we have that section done, it's pretty easy. We're going to continue over here. Now on this side, I want to do something a little bit different. So if we had pulled this all the way over here, it would be very close. You can do that if you want that those continuous lines, but as you'll see in a second, it's kind of hard to line everything up perfectly. So we're going to leave a little bit of room there in between. I'm going to go ahead and set up a guide because that looks pretty good right there. Just so you have that breathing room in between the two columns. But for this, I'm actually just going to go ahead and take out the header, and this is going to be like a summary, a little profile, which is becoming more and more common on resumes. So if you want to include a little blurb about yourself, get people interested, be creative here, do something, say something that's kind of funny or kind of witty or just something that fits your personality, and explain maybe why you should work at the company just in a few sentences, or just who you are, really. So I'm going to take that from over here. And you just want to line it up. Clearly I made my columns a little bit bigger. So now we're going to, we can try, let's do education next. Again, stick with your whatever you have going on, the font size, just make sure everything is the same and consistent. So I'm going to start university of Arkansas. There's not a whole lot to include in education. If you want to include more, maybe some classes you took, I don't know, whatever else you want to include, you can do that. But now we're going to get to the most important, oops, I didn't pull that all the way over. Let me make sure, nudge it over. So now we're going to get to our most important section, which is experience. So you're going to go ahead and do I always start with my title, wherever I worked, because that's what people are going to be interested in, employers are going to be interested in. So marketing designer, whatever your title was, and then underneath, actually for this one I started doing it underneath, but I quickly learned that there wasn't enough room to do it underneath. You'd be taking up a lot of unnecessary space. So what I'm going to do is put marketing designer, the company I work for, and the date on the same line. But I'm going to separate it out by doing a space in between each one, and a vertical line in between. And you can do this by the backslash. If you hold shift and do the backslash, there's a vertical line there that you can use. Sorry if that's confusing. Do another space, another space. Okay. But again, I'm going to go down to 12, still maintaining whatever formatting I did before. I'm going to go down this one to 12 too. So as you can tell, we kind of have a little bit of a problem here. It goes off onto the other side. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually just going to make these a little bit smaller, this column a little bit smaller, and this column a little bit bigger. You'll run into this. Resizing is one of the main things that you have to do when you're designing a resume, just because you have to have everything fit. So I'm just going to drag this guide over to about here. I'm going to adjust the lines. And as you can tell, this goes over our guide here, so I'm just going to drag the box over by clicking and dragging, and it'll come up. It'll go ahead and readjust that for you. But we now cut off my web design skills. So I'm going to click leadership, select everything, and use my nudge tool to pull it down. Okay, and then allow for my whole thing to be seen there, all my skills. I'm going to pull this back up. Okay, at this point, it's a good idea to save. It's probably a good idea to save before this point. Just continuously save through the process, because if you lose it, you'll kick yourself. Just do Command S is the easiest way to do it. And this box will come up and you can save it wherever. Okay, so now we have to resize this column over here. So I'm just going to click and drag because I need everything. Let me drag my guide over first. Gives a little bit of room. Drag it all over, nudge it until it gets up close. And I really just need to adjust my text boxes. Okay. Good, okay. So you could just hit enter here, or you can make a new text box, whichever you want. I'm just going to hit enter and go down to my 12-point font and start with my body. So just talk about whatever you did at that job. Be sure to include some accomplishments if you can, because that's what really stands out on a resume. They don't just want to see what you've done, they want to see how that's affected the company. So I'm just going to copy this from over here. And if you already have it written out on Word, great. Just copy and paste into the text box and you'll be good. Okay. So I'm just going to copy and paste these, and you can refill out the information. Obviously, you won't have the same thing written 3 times like me. But a lot of people over-include experience. I try and keep it as minimal as possible because you have so much other things to include on your resume. It's hard to fit it all. If you include the hostessing job you did in high school. So really, I just include what is relevant to that job. So I actually can adjust my resume according to where I am applying and try and make it sound more applicable to that place. So if there's a position you take off for some places but put back on for others, that's great. You can do that as well. So we have a pretty nice resume going on here. I'm just going to do a few little adjustments, maybe add a little bit of color to it. You could stop here, especially if it's a more straight-laced company. I would keep it black and white just because it does have to go through people that aren't necessarily creative a lot of the time. So you can stop here or you can keep going and do some more formatting. Okay, so if you want to continue on and you want to make it a little bit more creative, you want to add some color, that's basically all I'm going to really be doing here, then that's what we're going to do. We're going to add a little bit of color. Choose your colors wisely. I would say stick with black as at least one of your colors, or maybe a dark gray, just because a resume still does need to be a little bit conservative, not over the top, and a lot of people over design their resumes, and that's one of the worst things you can do, especially if you're not creative. Don't try and be a creative if you're not a creative. Stick with what you know and stick with just a well-designed or well laid out resume like this. But if you want to add color, you can. So I'm gonna make this a little bit bolder. And I actually kind of want to make this look a little bit like a watermark instead of just this bold RB over here. So I'm going to come over to my tools over on the right hand side, and there's one called transparency. It's 2 little circles connected, and you can there's a drop down that is opacity. You can bring that down to whatever percentage you want. I'm just going to go to 10% to kind of make it look like a very subtle watermark. And then for my colors, I usually, when I'm designing something, I like to make a little color palette just right along the side here. This won't show up. Anything in the gray won't show up when you print or when you save it, so it's good to keep it over there. So I'm going to make a little box, and how I did that was I clicked on the rectangle tool over here on the left-hand side, click and drag outward. It doesn't matter what size they are, we're just using it for the colors. So if I want to change the color to add my color scheme, you'd click on the box with your selector, and down here these 2 boxes are your colors. This box is the color of your fill, so what's inside the box. This color is the outline or the stroke of your box, which you can change, and I'll show you how that's affected by lines here in a second. But we have our box, we're going to choose a color. Now, red goes really well with black, and so you can use red if you want. I'm going to do something a little bit different just so it's not the typical just plain red. I'm going to do kind of an orangey, burnt orange kind of red color. So whatever you want it to be, you can do that. I'm actually going to make it a little bit more orange, a little bit darker. Okay. So I think I'm going to make black my last name, ironically, not black. Okay, so how did I get my last name, these words, that orange color that I had chose out for my color scheme? So it's really simple. You can double click, and if you just want a specific part of a sentence or a word or something that you've typed out to be that color, you double click and highlight whatever it is you want to be colored. And this is the easiest way that I have found is to use this eyedropper tool. So you come over here, click on the eyedropper, and whatever you click, it will make it that color. It's just really that simple. So if I wanted to make all of these titles this orange color, I would just select them all by holding Shift and clicking on them, and then click this color. And there we go. We've added some color to our resume. Now really you can do anything if you want to make your titles, you know, your vice president or your experience titles, marketing designer. If you want to make that the color, I've seen that done. Just kind of look around, see what you want to make a different color, but be selective. Don't make everything all different colors because then it's going to be overwhelming. You really just want it to be a subtle contribution to your resume. So I think that's pretty good. That's basically the way we had it before. You can adjust, you know, the size of this, where you want it. If you want them to be lined up, you want your name to be centered, or you can have it lined up underneath, and we can drag rulers. If you just click and drag outward, you can drag your ruler out and line them up perfectly. But it's looking really good. Make sure you go through, use your rulers, do a bunch of rulers, make sure everything lines up really well, make sure the spacing in between everything looks good. I can tell here this spacing is very different from this spacing, so I would go through, space it out correctly, make sure everything is the same. So I just took 2 rulers, and you can actually select multiple guides, multiple rulers here, or multiple guides, and by your click and drag selection, and then you can move them both around. So that's great for like this space here to make sure everything is spaced out correctly. It's really handy. That's how I do it, just to make sure. So we're looking really good. I think everything is looking good. You'll just want to do that with this, even the space underneath. It'll just look it'll look really clean and polished and finished once you go through and do all that to make sure everything's lined up. So let's kind of look at it further away, see if there's anything that stands out. I'm going to go ahead and delete my colors just because they distract a little bit. And I'm also going to pull my rulers off. You can just hide rulers up here if you want. Sorry, view. Or clear the guides, and everything will go away if you want. Or you can just select them all one by one and delete them, whichever you want. But it looks really good. It's really clean looking, very simple, but still more interesting than just a plain Word document resume. So now that we've finished designing, lining everything up, spell checking, you can really customize this and make it your own, and I strongly encourage you to do that. There's tons of little subtle things that you can do. Here I added a line down the center and actually made the stroke dashed, which let me show you how to do that really quick. You just click on whatever line it is you want to make dashed, and you come over here, and there should be a stroke button. If not, like I said before, you can come up here and go down to stroke and click it, and it should come up. But when you go to that, there's a checkbox where you can click, and it says dash line, and then you can just play with this pointage here. I have it at 8 point and just get it to the way you want it to be. But that's really interesting to do that. I also really liked this one. I took out the lines but maintained that vertical line down the center. It looks pretty clean and nice. And I also really liked this one. I changed the font to Josephine Sans instead of Josephine Slab, which we were using before. This is a sans serif font, which just means it doesn't have the little lines on the top and bottom of the letters. So it's a little bit more sleek, clean lines if you like that. This is probably one closer to what I would do because I like those very clean lines. But really just get creative, make it your own, play around a little bit, and just see what you can do. Good luck. One last thing I wanted to talk about is the edging. So a lot of people, and it does look good in design when you go over the edge sometimes, but for resume, it's really so much easier to just to maintain margins around the entire thing, which is just space in between the edges and what your content is. That's because printers, they have to roll the paper through, and those rollers will go along the edges here, and sometimes even on the top. They stop at a specific time. So just make sure everything is within those guides based on wherever you're getting it printed. Go get it printed on nice paper, and you're good to go. Good luck with your resumes, and good luck getting that job.